beautiful people.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Whoops. Oh, well. Usually we have the guest on the top overlay. Parker, you're up top. And I just realized it. But
I'm okay with this.
You look.
Parker's much prettier than I am. I'm okay with this.
No. You're both beautiful and fantastic and talented.
I'll be here for today.
But I tell you what, it is nice to have like Aaron in a show spot here. So I'm all for it. I like it.
It's good.
Hi.
Hey everybody. By the way, look, it's Highlight Heroes with our guest this week. Aaron, please introduce yourself.
Hi. I am Aaron at Obsidianolive on anywhere that matters, and I am also a co-founder over on twitch.tv/This Show Is a Mimic, and I exist on most places in the internet, and I am a DM over on The Show Is a Mimic every Friday and Saturday at 9:30 p.m. BST or 7:30 p.m. BST as I read this note that I have up on my monitor.
Woo!
It's like your agent gave you a specific thing you have to say.
She did. I mean, I know you're watching. I'm scared of you. Thank you.
Oh my god. Blink twice if you need help.
And of course, as always, the fantastic and amazing Parkerbliss is here. Hi, Parker.
Hello. For anybody who doesn't know, my name is Parkerbliss on all social media. I mostly hang out here, where I am one of the innkeepers. Welcome in.
And I am the governor who also does innkeeper things and does some streaming and does social medias for D&D. Lore Dump podcast Mondays. Pew 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 pew. Cool. That's me. But now we get on to the really important. Wait, no, we have one more thing before the really important stuff, and that is announcements. Ha! See, I did it good, Parker. I think you start that.
I do start the announcement. So thanks for being here, guys. Our next program is Off the Rails at 7 p.m. on Friday. We have Conundrum Company May 1st. That's 6 p.m. EST. And then we have a special Call of Cthulhu one-shot on the 2nd, which is Sunday at 7 p.m. It's called Feline Frenzy. It's going to be led by Cloudy Kate. It's going to be amazing. Just a note for this weekend's campaign episodes, you can hang out with us. We're going to be in onesies. It's comfy time because we met that community goal. So look out for our next one since we just fulfilled this one. And then, one more note. If you want to be able to win the Skull Splitter dice giveaway for this month, you need to be on Off the Rails April 30th. Yeah.
That's right. Speaking of Skull Splitter dice.
Yeah, I can't do that.
They are one of our fantastic sponsors, as Parker just mentioned. They sponsor a giveaway. And yeah, April 30th is a giveaway for that. We're not going to be running that during this show because we do it during breaks. But you should go out and check out their products, right? Because they are really good products. Of course, another sponsor is Gooey Cube. The Gooey's to Cube companies. They make a bunch of D&D 5e supplemental content for you. You can get that by clicking on the link. I'm talking really fast. But if you click on that, it's a whole bunch of homebrewing done just for you. Parker mentioned the community event, which has been completed. And Parker just came up with a really, really good idea for our next community event. So stay tuned to find out what that's going to be. Because hot dang, I'm hyped. It's amazing. It's a real... Parker's a genius. And of course, thank you. We do have a wiki about all of our shows. So go take a look at the Wikipedia. Thanks to all of our players. And of course, Tanner for helping get that set up. Last thing we want to talk about really quick is this month's charity. This month, we'd like to focus on the National Asian Pacific American Women's Forum. The NAPAWF is the only organization focused on building power with Asian Americans and Pacific Islander women and girls to influence critical decisions that affect their lives, families, and communities. Using a reproductive justice framework, they elevate AAPI women and girls to impact policy and drive systemic change in the United States. This is a community that has been greatly impacted through history, through it, both contemporary and old-timey, by just constant mistreatment. Recently, it's been all over the news. Obviously, Asian hate is a huge problem. And before spending money on this channel, before buying shirts, before subscribing, we would like to ask that you guys consider clicking on that donate button and making a donation in your name, in our name, in a friend's name, whomever it takes. We would love to see that happen more than anything else. And with that, my friends, our announcements are over.
Woo!
So, the first part of the show is we show our minis. I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
I'm painting a goblin. This is my boy, Skagback! The goblin rogue who is iconic and adored. Parker, what do you got?
I'm still painting my lava dragon, so he's got an orange base on him right now, and we're gonna see what I can do with him.
Oh, he looks cool.
very, very cute. And then there's me, and I'm painting my boy. From anybody who's here from this show's Mimic will recognize my recently retired, now 70-year-old, used to be 25-year-old Tabaxi, known as Longest Shadow of the Moon. He's really great. I love him very much, but also he's not my character anymore.
He's always your character.
Can you give us a quick, before we get into the mini talk? Can you give us a quick? What did you do? I've had a little primer here, but what have you done to your boy?
What happened is my boy. He's from this next section of Sordin, Birdie's world. My good friend Birdie the Bard, who runs the show's Mimic. He's made this world called Sordin. And I came into the campaign a little bit later than everyone else. And he went, hey, I've got a couple regions of the map that aren't decided yet. So go ahead and just fill it out, whatever you want to do. And I went, oh, I'm a history buff. You shouldn't have done that. So I built an Inca-based society called Vrinataksuyu that's mostly Tabaxi. And the thing is, they got annexed like 70 years ago by this magocracy named Beltaika. Essentially, Long Shadow's entire purpose in life was to free his country from being annexed. They were not like violently annexed or anything like that. It was all humanitarian. It was all political. But he just wanted his country back. And the DM was like, yeah, I'm going to put you in an astral plane shop run by a djinn who you can purchase a wish at the cost of like either your memories or your youth. And then my son was like, well, I was already going to spend my life trying to free Runatakuyu, so I might as well just spend my youth on it. And then he did, and he became a 70-year-old overnight. And then I retired him, and it was really sad. And I cried a lot.
That is really sad. I'm sorry for trolling you a little bit with the sad music,
martyred.
but it is sad. Yeah. Oh my god.
But you know, he's happy now. He's a crotchety old man. He's loving it, and he's a lead. He's helping lead the Democratic Republic of Runatakuyu. So
he's living his best life.
Yeah,
he's living his best life. You know, it's pretty good.
That's awesome. Okay. So you've got this mini. Tell us, what is your mini painting experience? How long have you been doing the mini paints?
I started painting minis freshman year of college. After his Geek and Sundry dropped a show called, was it Painters Guild with Will Friedle?
Love Painters Guild.
Yeah, I had just purchased like a pure white mini for my LGS for like a campaign that I was running. And I wanted like the enemy to have a nice mini because we were doing like the cardboard minis at that point in time for my game. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, let me just try and paint this little wizard. And it looked terrible, but I tweeted about it and got like a ton of support. And actually, Will Friedle like liked the tweet, and I was like, oh, that's so fucking cool. Ooh, oh wait, we can curse on the show.
Yeah,
curse away, bud.
I was about to say, wait, I watched the other shows.
Fuck.
But yeah, and then like Will Friedle liked the tweet, and I was like, so that was positive reinforcement, and I picked up mini painting, and I'm very casual about it. I'm still not great. I know a couple of techniques to like hide all of the mistakes.
Best techniques.
That's my experience with mini painting thus far.
Okay, but all mini painting techniques are just techniques to hide the mistakes.
Yep. We don't need to let the general audience know that.
Pro tip.
That makes it look less impressive.
That was the first thing that I learned.
Oh, okay.
How do you cover up the mistakes?
Honestly, that was a philosophy that I carried over because I also do like very, very casual cosplaying, and that's something that I learned in the cosplay community that then transferred over to mini painting.
Listen, if you're not doing it for competition, nobody needs to know what that's held together with.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter that you spent 6 sticks of hot glue on that one piece of armor. As long as it stays together for the con, it can fall apart after the con.
Mine's usually duct tape and tears.
Yeah, tears I find are a better.
I hold my my glue of choice for cosplay is spite.
That's pretty great. That's pretty accurate.
Oh my god.
But yeah, that's all of my experience with mini painting. It's just like I've done. I've got a little tub of little minis that I've painted over the years. This is literally every mini I've ever painted in my life.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah, this is like one of my favorite ones. I got this little like troll dude that I've done.
He looks good.
Yeah, where's my little cleric? I've got a cleric who's a light cleric whose cloak is like my favorite thing I've ever done, but I don't know where she's sitting right now. So it's okay. I'll find her later. Yeah, she must be in a different box somewhere.
I always find it's not a mood that I practice, but it is a mood of mini painters to eventually have so many minis that you just dump them in a tub. That's definitely a thing.
My favorite things are when people like take the tubs and dump them out on tables and then do like live streams of them organizing their minis for photo shoots. It's a very niche community that I've seen on Twitch, but it's really dope.
I'm just like I'm like, oh, I put so much time and effort into this. I can't. That's one thing that I cannot do. I'm like, no, my paint job might get chipped.
Little trick. I use industrial strength metal paint sealer. As a final pass, and I could put that shit through the dryer and it will never chip.
I have the problem is I have gloss primers and refractive light primers, and I don't want to put a primer over a primer that gives an effect, or not a primer but a sealer. Yeah, I'm like,
that's valid.
No.
Whereas I'm like, if it looks decent at the table,
I'm good.
What does it matter if the cloth is as shiny as the metal?
Oh, that's a valid tip, though. And guys, that's important. Sealing your minis. I don't think we've ever said that before, but you put all that effort into your paint
because
job.
I don't.
Oh well,
I know now.
I speak from actual experience. I've got a mini here. She's an angel. She's one of the first I ever painted. And I was so crushed when her wings, because they're flexible, they flexed and it like cracked all of the paint down her entire wing. So I just stripped the whole mini and started again. And I was crushed. So that's why I invested in like high grade sealant.
Literally, even if you treat your minis perfectly, the paint will fade on it unless you seal it.
Yup.
And it's as simple as putting it on a stick and hitting it with whatever finish you want. And also, like, the sealers will give you cool finishes to your minis as well.
Oh yeah.
Like, they make the colors pop. Used to be the one thing that I've run into with the sealers is the temperature is so important with the sealers of all of them.
Because they clump so easy.
They crystallize on your mini, and it makes them look terrible if you get it too hot or too cold.
It just looks like gravelly, and like you just kind of splatter the paint on there. You could spend as many hours as you want detail painting.
Preach.
Yo.
Okay, wow. Look, we actually did mini tips this time. We never do that.
Oh, I feel honored to be able to do mini tips. Because I'm honestly
tips.
Not that great at this. I am passable.
You clearly know what you're doing. So
the theory, yes, but like it's the execution that really matters.
I'm learning.
So Parker, I think you're up next, my friend.
I am. So, just a general question to start us off: how'd you get into D&D?
Cool. Okay, so this actually goes back to freshman year of high school. So this is a lot longer ago than I want to admit. I feel old now. But
well, don't.
We can't talk about being old here because then Josh gets upset.
That's valid.
Everyone's young.
But
none of
what
us
happened is D&D for me was always that hobby of like, that's too far into nerddom. I'll never go that far. I'll never be that big of a nerd because only like people in their mother's basements play Dungeons and Dragons. I know the stereotype.
Not right now, Mom.
I'm in my father's attic, so I beat the stereotype.
Oh, look at you.
But some of my friends eventually convinced me to do a 3.5 one shot. And I played some games. I fell in love. I played a warlock. I fell in love, and it was just I bit the bullet hard, and I went. And, the next week was the week that 5e just came out. It was like that perfect of timing.
Oh,
like 5e launched. It was the release of the Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster Manual was the next week.
Wow, what timing!
So I went out. I bought the Player's Handbook when my friends bought the Monster Manual, and the third friend bought the DMG. We played our first little campaign. It fell apart, so I got to experience the real D&D experience really early. And then after that, I was like, well, I mean, I'm already loving this hobby, but I don't have anyone else to DM, so I took up the DM chair, as many DMs do, and I've been DMing ever since.
Look at you. How many campaigns have you DM'd, you think?
Okay, in terms of just starting campaigns, easily in like the high 20s, low 30s.
Wow.
In terms of actually like getting a decent, fulfilling amount done, probably somewhere between 5 to 10. I've completed 2. I have fully gone from level 1 to level 20 twice.
That's impressive, though. That's a feat, man. That's really impressive.
To be fair, I also like to maniacally cackle as I throw things far too difficult for my party, so they kind of exponentially level way faster than they're supposed to because they're experiencing things way faster than they're supposed to.
Oh, for sure.
But
for sure.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with DMing.
Okay, so you've been DMing all this time, and you've been playing some. So what is your favorite class to play?
So in the pre-show check, we actually started talking about this earlier a little bit. In that I used to be a cleric main, and it's not because I don't love clerics that I stopped being a cleric main. But what happened is I'm good friends with this lovely little lady known as Abby, or @Clueless_DM, and we used to be in a ton of one-shots together. And she would always take the cleric first, always, every time. So I was like, okay, I need to find another class to main. And I had been spouting for years that paladins are the best mechanical class. And then I started playing a paladin, and I fell in love with the role-playing aspect of having an oath and really being stuck into a lawful alignment. And it just it really, really fulfilled me. So paladins have very quickly become my favorite class.
Ah, nice. Okay, so you're among the Sarah. Sarah's a big paladin main too. Good stuff. Paladins are
Great.
a ton of fun. Plus, they hit hard.
Oh my god, Divine Smite. Actually, Long Shadow never fully got there, but was just multi-classing into Paladin when he retired. He was about to be able to put wizard spell slots into Paladin Divine Smite.
Oh, geez Louise.
Because he was a Blade Singer wizard, so he was all melee based.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Blade Singer's always an interesting concept.
Yeah, they really did buff them in Tasha's.
That's what I've
That
heard.
was a lot of buffing that they did. That I was like, I don't know that I agree with this, but also I get to make a melee attack and a cantrip.
Eldritch Knight is irrelevant, but okay.
Yeah, that was actually my exact argument. It's like, I feel like there should be something the Eldritch Knight has.
Oh my gosh.
So
So, if paladins are your favorite class, do you have a favorite race to play? One that you lean most towards?
I am a living human Firbolg. I am a cross between a human and a Firbolg.
Mm-hmm.
So in real life, and I just adore them so much. And I'm really disappointed that I've never gotten to play a Firbolg in a long-term campaign, just because I don't know, it's never felt like the groups that I was joining just felt like the right group to bring my Firbolg into. But Firbolgs absolutely 100% are my favorite race.
You boys.
Yeah, I love Firbolgs.
So now I haven't done this bit in a while, but I know, Aaron, that you respect me, and we're pretty close. So
okay, how are you going
to? Are you willing to do a bit for me?
I can do a bit.
Okay, all I need you to say just for one day I will actually get around to this chat. I just need you to say that dwarves are the best D&D race.
I see. The thing is, I know what the upcoming question is, and you're going to be very disappointed by my answer.
No.
Okay, Josh and I are still friends, so you can answer honestly.
No. Just for the soundbite though. Just do it for the soundbite though.
Dwarves they exist.
Oh.
All right. You know what, Josh? I respect you enough to say it. Josh fully believes that dwarves are the best race.
That's enough for me to edit.
Yeah,
you can edit out the front part, but I need to give context.
Hello, Raiders.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Raiders.
Yes, but no. Well, I tried. See, this is why I don't do it anymore, Parker. I've just
the utter disappointment
after defeat. So then,
I'm sorry.
You've given us your favorite race, and you've given us your favorite class. But what's the class you want to try next? Like, what's on your to-do list, or if there's something you haven't played in a while you want to revisit?
I have played every single class at this point.
Nice,
but I am really excited because the character I've just introduced into Sword, and technically not one that I have coming up, but I haven't actually gotten to properly play him yet. His name is Cass, and he is a human druid. And I am so excited to play druid because I have not played druid since my first character in 5e.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, her name was Kara. She was a wood elf druid. It's like Circle of the Moon, as stereotypical as you can get, and she was awesome, and I absolutely loved playing her. It was a shame about the time she got beheaded by orcs. But
oh my god, yeah.
What a shame.
Yeah, it was a real shame. But I'm really excited to get to play a druid again, just because it's never really been something that drew me. Druid drew me. But it is one of those things where I sat down and was like, God, druids are really cool. And there's so many uses for them outside of Circle of the Moon that I want to really explore that.
That's a valid struggle. Like, honestly, in regards to like gameplay and technical capabilities, druids are some of my most favoritist class. The fantasy of them
agree.
does not do it for me. Like regularly, I'm like, meh, cool.
Yup.
But mechanically, God, they are so much fun.
Yup. And that's one of the reasons why Cass, this new character who I'm playing, I'm not going to give away too much because I know that a couple of the Swordin people are tuning in at some point during this.
Uh-oh.
But he is not the traditional druid.
Nice.
He's definitely somebody who's a bit more of a drifter. And he aligns himself much more with the fire part of nature than the plants and healing and life part of nature.
Burn it all! Got it.
Very much. He wanted to burn down a house that happened to have a royal ball happening in it last episode.
Anarchy! Anarchy! Sorry.
100%. But yeah, that's Cass, and I'm really excited to get to play him as a druid.
Cass does sound like a lot of fun. That's much hype for that session, which can be found over twitch.tv/this show as a mimic.
Correct. Yes, that one. It's in the campaign that is over at 7:30 p.m. BST. Adjust for your own time zone. That's British summertime on Saturdays.
Woo!
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I know you already have a character coming up, but do you have a race you wanted to try?
I have played pretty much everything except for setting specific races, because one of the issues I have, right, with certain races is that I experience them in places that aren't D&D first, so it feels weird to just drop them into a random fantasy campaign. An example of this is like Kalishtar from Eberron. Like, that's one of those things where it's like, it looks really cool mechanically, but I feel like I would have a hard time playing it because I was introduced to Eberron from novels, not from D&D. So it's one of those things of like, it feels weird, but I would also love to like play a setting specific version of those races. Yeah. Another one of those for me is the Simic hybrid, because Ravnica is very, very close to my heart as a setting, because that was one of the blocks that was in rotation when I first started playing Magic the Gathering, and that's one of the reasons why like playing just a Simic hybrid in a random fantasy campaign has always felt a little weird to me.
It's a very specific lore that takes a bit of twisting and finagling to get into a more traditional.
And not to say that I have problems when like fellow players do it. It's just a hang up that I personally have.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
fair.
Yeah.
That's always valid. So we've kind of asked about your favorites, but now we want to hear about your least favorite. So your least favorite class to play.
Least favorite class. Okay, this is not. I want to preface this so hard because the people who play this class defend it really hard on the internet. I want to be so clear that this doesn't actually have to do with the mechanics of the class. This has to do with sour experiences I've had as a DM, and then just not impressive experiences I've had as a player with it. I am not a fan of the monk class.
Monk!
I don't think we've gotten that answer yet, have we?
I like that answer, though.
I'm going to be honest. Again, my opinions are mostly colored as a DM, and I feel like not monks themselves, but every monk main, not even just people who play monks, but monk main that I've had at my table has had this, like, how do I say this respectfully? Want to accomplish a lot in a small amount of time that the monk class facilitates, but then that becomes their standard. So when you limit them as a DM, it becomes very frustrating for the player.
Interesting.
And it's one of those things of like, yeah, monks have just like never really impressed me. Like, I love the lore of monks and the idea of someone who has weaponized their body from how just in tune with themselves they are. But I don't know. The monk has always just been like bottom of the pole for me.
That's fair. That's
Totally
fair. And valid reasoning for it too. You know, sometimes it's just like it just doesn't do it for me, which is also valid. But that's an interesting perspective. It's really unique. Yeah.
I have this personal philosophy when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, where if there is something that I'm like, well, obviously I'm never going to do that, I have to stop and go, well, why not? It's this philosophy of like with monks, it's one of those things that as soon as I recognized that I didn't enjoy monks, I had to sit down and play one for a decent amount of time, just so that I know that it's like not just my experiences coloring it. And that's one of the reasons why in my explanation I also mentioned that I had just lackluster time playing one.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
That's good. A good perspective on life as well. Honestly.
So I worry for Josh, but do you have a least favorite race and why?
This has nothing to do with them themselves. I just have a hard time playing them. But because I love their lore, they're wonderful. I cannot talk them up enough. I love having them in my games. I love building things for them. I've always had a really hard time playing dwarves.
It's hard when they're so mechanically sound. I get it. They're just so good.
They really are. They're one of the few races that like gets a resistance and a skill proficiency.
Yeah, it's very good.
They're very, very good. And one of the I don't even know why I have a hard time with dwarves, because I love dwarven culture. It's not that they're short, because I love playing the small races. Like, I don't know what it is. I just have never had a great time playing a dwarf.
God, they must just suck. That's... You know what? It must just be... No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I put so much time into dwarves in my world because I love them. I just can't play them.
That's super...
I think what it is my inability to make a Scottish accent. I'm going to float this idea by you guys. I had an idea recently, and I thought about making a TikTok about this.
Okay.
In a new homebrew world, everyone always stereotypes dwarves as Scottish, right?
Yeah.
I would like to claim them on behalf of my community, the Hispanic community. Because dwarves are hardworking, short individuals who all they want to do is go home and drink beer at the end of the day.
You know what?
And now,
that's valid.
All we're doing is trading out a stout ale for like a Corona and a lime. Is all we're doing.
I mean, I love that.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
I think I could play a Hispanic dwarf, but like I think it might be my inability to do a Scottish accent that makes me unable to do dwarves.
You know, dwarves get stereotyped into a lot of very specific lore. And I this comes up. I've said it 100 times before.
It does.
Lord of the Rings lore is not the only dwarf lore. Like,
correct.
Like there is there's like 8 different types of dwarfs in the Sword Coast alone that are highly varied. And I love the idea of that culture. Like that's so good, man.
Yup. What's the name of the dwarves? I forget if this was Pathfinder or older D&D. But the dwarves that would... Actually, I think this might be Sword Coast. The dwarves that put on, like, the spiked armor and then just run into things.
Oh, yeah. Not the... Shoot, I'm forgetting. I wrote this down for a Twitch command the other day. But yes, that's actually a racial that you can get for dwarves in 5e.
Oh, is it? That's so
you
dope.
can get that. It's a specialized... I think it's in Xanathars.
So cool.
Battle Ragers, that's right.
And again, I love dwarves. I just can't play dwarves.
Fair.
That's valid. Nothing wrong with that.
Super fair.
Okay. Is it my question next?
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. You've been doing content creation now for a while. D&D content, a little bit of cosplay, creator content, all kinds of stuff. What's your origin story there? How'd you get into content creation?
Oh my god. Okay, so content creation. I grew up in the age of the internet, and because of that, content creation is obviously something every teen thinks about at some point, right?
Yeah.
Everyone thinks like, oh, one day I want to be like a YouTuber or something. And even as far back as like middle school, I was talking to I found this group called Achievement Hunter, and I was like, oh, I love them, they're great. I was like, I want to play video games on the internet. And my friends and I, when I was in high school, started talking about this thing called Almost Awesome, where we wanted to do like just fail compilations and stuff like that. It never got off the ground, but that kind of implanted the idea of like, wait, I convinced like 4 people to almost do this with me. Maybe I could do it. So I got into college, started trying to make some solo content, did some YouTube stuff, did some Twitch stuff. Never really took off. And I kind of stopped thinking about it. Then late 2019, via a story I'm not going to mention now, I came up with the Obsidianolive tag and started trying to do some just like YouTube stuff again. Didn't take off, but right after that, once the pandemic hit, I got into TikTok, as most of the world did.
Yes.
And it was actually, I believe you guys are familiar with user known as Ben Does D&D.
We know him well.
I have told him this story to his face, so it's not rude, I promise. You don't have to report me. But I looked at one of his TikToks and I went, oh, this guy can do it? That means I can do it. This is fun.
Oh my god.
This is something I said to him within like a week of meeting him.
That's the best reason ever, and I love it.
Yeah, because like I had found now one of my best friends in the world, Val the Nerdy Niffler. I was actually talking to Parker about them earlier. They're one of my best friends, and they kind of brought me into the D&D TikTok community. Then I actually just passed a year on TikTok 11 days ago.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you. I decided to celebrate by starting to do TikToks again because I stopped in like July.
A mood.
What a mood.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of how I got into content creation, but it was around July of last year that my buddy Birdie was like, hey, we've known each other for a couple months. I've had this game running on the side for like 7 weeks and I want to turn it into a stream, but I want to bring in a player on episode 1 so we can like introduce everyone to the world and to the party with new eyes. Do you want to come in? And then from there, they had already decided on the name. This show is a mimic, shortened to Shazam. I'm going to I have comments there. Anyway,
I know you do. We've had this conversation before.
It was a name choice.
Yeah.
But from there, I kind of came in and immediately fell in love with the group, and we started making our little baby. That's the Sword and Chronicles. It's been running now for 9 months. I know you guys passed a year. Like, what was it? Almost a month ago.
Yeah, in March.
But 9 months is incredible.
That's
like,
intense.
kudos.
Yeah, we've been going for 9 months now, and with that, I kind of just fell into more and more responsibility on the Twitch channel. Me and Birdie kind of have to work at this point. And we recently, Birdie's partner, Imi, came in as our social media manager. We've been doing a couple more shows, talking about the future. We've had some things on back burners, unfortunately, for a very long time that we wanted to get off the ground that are starting to look like they might actually happen soon.
Woo!
So that's kind of my history with content creation. I only recently, literally a week ago, got into trying to kind of rebrand my personal stuff because I hadn't been doing anything with it.
Yeah.
To where I'm now trying to make comic book D&D content, and I'm excited for it. It's something I've been passionate about.
When you guys have Shazam, did a fantastic, phenomenal, huge success charity event. Like that was massive and a huge undertaking.
Yeah, that was. I'm gonna be honest here. Shazam hosted that event. We actually weren't brought into the work of that until the last month or so.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons for year 1, I always try and take as little credit as possible because that was the charity committee. It was about a month before the event, they went, hey, we've unanimously decided we wanted to do it on Shazam. And it was that point where we really started to get into the meetings and trying to organize things. And speaking of that, we actually had another charity meeting just last night. And it was actually pretty short, but it was a good meeting where we're about 6 months out from the next one.
That's exciting.
Wow.
Yeah, we raised $7,000 for Doctors Without Borders in 24 hours.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like Ivy, Adam, that whole squad there did fantastic work, and you guys provided a lot of great support. So bravo.
Yeah, they did an absolutely amazing job. And I actually was watching the VOD recently because we're trying to cut together a reel to send to sponsors.
Yeah.
And I started sobbing all over again when I hit the point where we hit our goal halfway through. Or in the first our stream goal in the first 12 hours. And I had hit my personal donation goal within the first hour, where I had a little challenge that has now been clipped on the internet. Thank you, Abby.
We're hearing about this.
Yeah, where I ate a 12-ounce can of Vegemite.
I spent a lot of money on that Vegemite.
I actually cursed you while I was watching the VOD because Adam was like, hey, did you just see who went through 4 times? And I was like, gosh, I thought we were friends.
We are. That's why I did it.
We do our friends here.
Yeah, that's how we do. That was what Parker said. Yeah. So I think...
And that's a brief little history of Shazam.
Well, congratulations on the 9 months. That's massive and really cool.
Yes.
I think we have one more question that Parker's got here, but guys, audience, prepare to ask your questions. This is your chance. Highlight them for us if you can, because it makes it easier for Parker and I to see them. If not, there are mods in chat, and a lot of the time, they will highlight the question for you so we get to it. Okay?
Ooh, I've got 3,000 points.
Boy,
maybe I'll burn some.
You could ask your own questions of yourself.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Aaron, how did you get so good looking? Well, Aaron, that's a lie. Let's see.
Gosh. So our last question. Oh, Merlin.
Hi, Merlin!
Last question. My dog's going to ask, I guess. What's your biggest hobby outside of D&D?
Without a doubt, not even close. I've spent easily thousands of dollars on Magic the Gathering. Over the course, because I've been playing Magic the Gathering for about a year longer than I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons, and it It is an addiction. I have a problem. There have been interventions. I love the game so damn much. It is a little terrifying sometimes when I realize that both of my hobbies are controlled by Hasbro, especially with like the way Magic as an industry has been going the last like 4 to 5 years. But Magic the Gathering by far is my outside of D&D hobby.
You're a big Commander player, right?
I absolutely adore Commander. My favorite Commander deck is my Gave Guru of Spores deck, and Josh, someday I will obliterate you with it.
I look forward to it. I'm not that good, but I do have fun.
Oh my gosh.
You are great, I'm assuming. I've never gotten the chance to play with you, and that makes me sad.
I was taught by a nightmare person.
That's
if
That nightmare person is in chat.
Sean's decks, and they scare me.
Yeah.
No, okay, to be fair, I don't infinite combo Gave. I'm not that kind of trash. I like to play it because I like to watch little spore creatures go. So essentially, Parker, this guy is like, imagine like a treant made of fungus, and he makes these little spore creatures called saprolings, which these adorable little mushroom like fern creatures that are just the cutest little things, and he can make so many of them. He can make so many.
These cute armies of saprolings.
I was about
That
to say,
sounds
do you
familiar.
send them forward to their death, or?
Well, the thing is, the main strategy of the deck is to blood sacrifice them. But
Yeah.
I just make them because I think they're cute.
Like
So
any
actually,
rational human being would do.
Yeah,
one
of
of my
course.
favorite strategies actually is to just make like as many of these, easily in the hundreds of these little things, and then find a way to kill myself with them so that I go down. That's actually my favorite way to play a game. Is I will choose to end myself for comedy before I will choose to win.
You're playing a different game to everybody else.
Yes.
That's what you're telling me. Well, my friends, I think it's time for questions. And you know what? Parker's had to do the last few, so I got
Are
you,
you
bud. I got you.
I'm about to a stopping point.
No.
so
You do you. I want to see this freaking lava dragon, so I'm gonna ask
It's not
some
gonna be done,
questions.
but okay.
I want to see it. Hey, Auburn Alchemist has our first question.
My wife.
That's fair. Has there been a character or experience at the table that has impacted you in real life?
Every single one, absolutely. I am someone who gets way too invested in their characters way too quickly. But I kind of play this game of chicken with myself where I get super invested with my characters, and then I refuse to think about them outside of game because I don't want to accidentally play out their storylines away from the table in my own head.
Valid.
So Long Shadow, I was mentioning earlier in the game or in the interview, he really affected me before he even left. I actually I was in a really dark place when I first made Long Shadow, and just like it was a couple months into the pandemic, everybody was having a really hard time. And I remember there was one specific moment where it was after a game, and I kind of like sat on my floor because that's something that one of our fellow cast members taught me to do when I was stressed. And I just kind of sat there and talked to myself for a little bit, and I felt like I was talking to him, and it really improved my mental health. And I will always love him for that.
Aw, that's so wholesome.
That's Long Shadow is definitely the one who really affected me the most, because again, as I said earlier, I've been mostly a DM. Like, I've gotten to play most of the classes mechanically, but in terms of long-term campaigns, I've actually been in very few. So he was a part of myself that I put into a character that was a lot of my my own like little hypocrisies, and a lot of going back on different points of my own beliefs, and it was really interesting to get to play him.
Oh, that's awesome. That's super cool. So then, Mythalader asks, if you could cast Find Familiar, this is a good question, in real life, what would your familiar be?
I mean, because I can see through its eyes, it has to be something with wings. I want to experience flight.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. Let's see here. I'm gonna do this by process of elimination. I'm not gonna do something with wing or with a. Obviously, I'm not gonna do something that flies at night like an owl or a bat because I like daytime.
Okay.
Because they're native to where I live, and I've always thought they were some of the most beautiful birds, I'm gonna go with a red-tailed hawk.
Ooh, that's regal as heck.
Yeah, I love Red Tectonics. Also, I grew up on the Animorphs books, and they were very prominent in there. So there's that.
God, that is something I completely missed the Animorphs. It was I do I need to go back and read them?
They are not as good as I'm sure I remember them being.
Gotcha.
But I did always love them. And the main villain from the Animorphs affects me to this day. They are these slugs called Yerks, which they
Gross.
are aliens from from like this highly acidic, awful planet. And essentially, they will trigger warning to anyone who doesn't like anything revolving ears. Trigger warning. They will crawl up into your ear, into your brain, and flatten themselves against your brain to mind control you for up to 3 days at a time.
Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty horrifying. The villains from there still affect me to this day.
That is a heck of a villain. My lord. Okay.
Yup.
Our next question comes from Commune DM. Really good
Oh, I love Commune.
Nuzlocke. Yeah, great guy. So he asks, so Aaron, when
Yep.
it comes to homebrew, what are some of your favorite things to create? Items, classes, or monsters? What's your go-to? This is a
You
great
choose?
question.
My whole brand is homebrew. Well, let's see here. I am currently running 2 different concurrent Percy Jackson and the Olympian themed campaigns, and every single one of the classes that my players have played on stream was 100% homebrewed by myself. And that process is really exhausting but really fulfilling, especially when you get to hand it to the player and go, hey, do you think you could design a character with like these options I've given you? And you get to see their faces light up. Like, personally, I'll always love items and monsters because I love to cackle to myself when I throw a curse on an item or I make a monster have 6 legendary actions. But there's something about building a full class that is just, it's something else. And like, oh, something I forgot to plug at the beginning of the show. If anyone ever wants to see any of my classes, every month I post up one of the Dungeons and Demigods classes on my Patreon over at patreon.com/Obsidianolive.
Hey!
Yeah, and it's just like, there's a free class on there if anyone wants to just go grab it. I also do, every month with the classes, I do a full legendary stat block for a monster from Greek mythology, and I do a historical breakdown of an item from Greek mythology that I then also stat out. Most recently, I've done the shield and spear of Achilles, the shield being the one that's actually historically accurate, and spear being the one that video games have been obsessed with for the past 30 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so if anyone's ever interested in something like that, I drop stuff like that every month, and there's free ones up there if anyone wants to just go check out patreon.com/Obsidianolive.
That's really cool. Check it out. Check it out. So,
Yeah.
so Sean's got a question that I know you're going to love for you, Mr. Shikatans. If
Yep.
you could play as any Magic the Gathering card in D&D, what would it be?
Okay, it's hard not to say my baby, Gave, because I would love to be Fungus Person who makes little babies.
Yeah.
But like, ooh, that's a really hard question. I mean, I gotta go with. I'm stuck between 2. I'm stuck between my main favorite Planeswalker, the reason I started playing the game, and Edgar Markov. Because Edgar Markov is just amazing. Big Daddy Vampire Boy, Edgar Markov.
Mhm.
But then there's also Chandra, who is the reason I started playing Magic the Gathering. Chandra Nalar, the Pyromancer, she...
Iconic.
I was a teenage boy when I discovered Magic, and I saw the Core Set 2014 box, which had a photorealistic Chandra, like with one hand ablaze and her hair flaming behind her, and I fell in love. Yeah, so I'd probably go Chandra Nalar if I had to live out my days as an MTG card. Live my days as the one I love.
That's super valid. Okay. Adam, Mr. Adam asks.
Who's that? I've never heard of that guy before.
He's a cool dude. He plays on our channel. You'd
He
like
hangs
him.
out with us every Saturday.
Yeah, you'd love him.
He's the guy. He's the guy who really liked the Mandarin twist from Iron Man 3. I remember. He loved that twist. That's his favorite twist in all movies.
He's also a big fan
I
of
feel like I can
walls.
feel him seething.
Yeah, he likes licking walls.
He does like licking walls.
Yeah.
He definitely likes licking walls.
No, Adam asks because he's amazing and we love him.
We love Adam.
We do. Is there a property outside of D&D that you have dreamed of turning into homebrew?
I have been debating turning Christopher Paolini's Inheritance Cycle into D&D for years.
Okay.
That setting I've always found super compelling, super interesting. It borrows from a lot of popular fantasy. He was very much a 16-year-old when he wrote the setting. But like literally the first book, Aragon, came out when he was 16 years old. But that setting was for a very long time my favorite like book series. It was once I hit freshman year of college, it got replaced by the Dresden Files because Harry Dresden is now one of my favorite characters of all time. But yeah, to answer that, either the Inheritance Cycle or the Dresden Files. I know Dresden Files has its own RPG. I just haven't met anyone else who's as big of a fan of the book series to play through with it.
I mean, I'm a huge Jim Butcher fan. I have yet to read the Dresden Files.
Okay.
So
that's valid.
Caldrian and whatever it's pronounced, Chronicles was like my introduction to Jim Butcher, and I really like it. He has some issues writing female characters.
Oh yeah. Oh, he has so many issues.
Not a big fan of that, but the Dresden Chronicles.
Files, if you ever get into them, he makes the way that he writes females as a perspective character flaw of Dresden the character.
Okay, that
like
helps.
it. I think
at least he's aware.
Yeah, what he really did was he took his awareness of his issue writing them and went, well, no, we're going to make that one of the main flaws of this character.
Because Calderon, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
I gotta say, it gets really... He kind of stops doing it after the third book in Dresden Files. It gets a lot more reserved. It's still there.
Yeah.
There's no denying the problems with it, but it does get a lot more reserved after the third book. If anyone's ever turned off by the Dresden Files, the first 11 books are 100% episodic with an overarching theme that comes in way later.
Interesting.
So if you just skip the first 3 books, you're fine because they always recap the characters, and not every character makes it to the next novel. Sometimes they'll skip novels. Like my favorite character happens to be Paladin, is this guy named Michael Carpenter. He's a Knight of the Cross. Like literal Knight of the Cross. His sword, Amarakis, its hilt is forged of one of the 3 nails that nailed Jesus to the cross.
Wow.
It's metal. And that Paladin character, he shows up, I think, in books 3 and then not again till like 6 or 7. Because the thing is there's so many interesting characters in the Dresden verse that Butcher can easily drop somebody for an entire book and not miss them, but then bring them back with no issue.
That's like Robert Jordan. He's like that.
Yeah.
So here's my Jim Butcher plug for you. Has any of these? We've got a lot of Jim Butcher fans in the chat today.
Oh heck yeah!
The Aeronauts Windlass.
I started reading the first book, and it's got a couple of protagonists in it, and one of the protagonists annoyed me so much that I had to put the book down. Book. I forget her name, but she just like it wasn't that she was written to
Is it the soldier lady?
It was the girl who was like in training at the beginning of the first book. She just made decisions that frustrated me. And I was like, I don't like you as a person. I
adore the aesthetic, I think, is my like it's so
like,
good.
All the skyships and everything. Oh my god. Yeah. What sucks too is I bought the first like 3 books of the Aeronauts Windlass. They're sitting on a shelf at home. I'll finish them eventually. But there is this really dope bookstore in Portland, and they had like every Dresden or every Butcher book written ever there. And I was just like, all right, well here's like 5 Dresden books. Here's this. There's this in hardcover.
I will admit I've only read the first one. So I need to come back to the 2. But it's that's always my ask for like Jim Butcher fans is like, this is his obscure weird title.
Yeah. I picked that up and I went, it's well written. And overall, the cast seems pretty dope. I liked the, I forget the name of the concept, but the concept of those like semi-telepathic, like psychic people.
Yeah.
And how they're kind of just weird and dreamy. I really enjoyed that. Again, it was just this one character that like, it didn't make me go, I hate this novel, I'm never going to read it, but it did make me sit down the book, and then I just never picked it back up.
Well, whenever I think back on it, I'm like, I don't remember the plot.
Yeah. I think I got in as far as, like, they literally, like, there was an attack, they went down one spire to another spire, and were hanging out with people there, and I was like, I'm done with this character, and I just closed the book.
Oh my lord, that's awesome. All right, we've got another question. We're nearing the end here, but we've got 2 highlighted questions, so we'll try and get through those really quick. So the first one is another question from our dear friend Commune. Sassy says, "Hello, internet. Do you?" She's meowing in the background. Do you have any experience with other TTRPG systems? If not, what are some systems that pique your interest?
I have a fair amount of interest with a few other systems. A few amount of. I'm gonna start that over. I have a bit of experience with some other systems just because I've gotten a chance to pick them up. I've really enjoyed. We got to play Dust City Outlaws. I've gotten to play Kids on Broomsticks. If you guys have ever seen it, I highly recommend. It is a collaborative storytelling TTRPG that essentially the game master equivalent and the players at the beginning of the first session collaboratively come up with the magical world that you're in, and it's basically like a Hogwarts stand-in. You can make it however you like. And it's got these like stats, and the magic system is really cool because you can do basically anything with it. There aren't hard spells. It's just how familiar you are with effects and how big you want them to be. So highly recommend Kids on Broomsticks. I'm familiar with Cthulhu. I'll actually be playing that here this Sunday. I'm feeling frenzy. So that's going to be cool. I'm excited for that.
That's going to be awesome.
And then there's a couple other like systems that I'm familiar with. Like I've played 3.5. I've gone back and done that. I went back and played 2nd edition D&D. Played a little bit of Pathfinder. I'm touching my toe into Pathfinder 2. I've been reading the books, and I'm like, this looks really cool.
It's very good.
Very good.
Probably going to pick it up at some point. Adam especially has been like, you should pick up Pathfinder 2. And I'm like, yeah, I will. Eventually. I've got a lot going on. But yeah, in terms of like my favorite non-D&D TTRPGs, by far Kids on Broomsticks. I love it so much. Yeah.
Well, go ahead,
no,
please.
No, that's it. That was literally it.
Okay, well, I was just going to ask our last and final question from the evening comes from the splendiferous Mr. Adup.
Oh, that guy.
And this is a good one. Since you homebrew, what is one item that you would like to rewrite? So an item you made that you're like, I feel like he might know the answer to this question.
This is a list, first of all.
If
there was... Okay, this is for a campaign that is long gone. This is my mistake. This is my first ever campaign that I ever ran. I made a homebrew item that I thought was really cool because I started with 3.5. I thought alignment was going to be a way bigger thing in 5e. I thought alignment was going to matter more than it did.
Yeah.
So I had this cool ring that was attunement to a spellcaster that was like you can change the damage of a spell, but like there's a chance it'll like crack your mind and change your alignment. Mm-hmm. Like it was a fun thing. And then I had a player who liked the power game, and he essentially became he started doing things like just taking he took a couple levels of wizard and a couple levels of cleric because he was like following like the Arcana god, and he essentially took Fireball, changed its output to lightning, and then Tempest Domain Channel Divinity it to max out the damage. It was just one of those moments where I'm like, so that's 8d6 lightning damage, and he goes, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
And it was that moment at the table. I've never been like embarrassed as a DM before that I didn't see it coming. But then, joke's on him, next session he fought a Shambling Mound, and that wasn't even intentional. That was a random roll. They fought a Shambling Mound next session.
Surprise. You do
he
nothing.
Healed it by like the entire damage of Fireball.
That's really good. Forced alignment change items are, I think, something that everyone dabbles in a little bit, and then they immediately regret it.
Yeah, it's just like alignment is very much an artifact of older parts of Dungeons and Dragons that I see why it's an artifact, but I also wish it mattered a little bit more.
It's well, for me it's either I'd like to just see it out of the rule set as a guidance thing. Like I don't see why things need to reference it the way they do, because it's a player choice.
Exactly. It's like since then I've learned that the way that I rule alignment is it's a descriptive quality. It is something that is your actions define your alignment. It's not like, because I used to have players be like, they'd sit down at the table and it's like, well, I wrote down lawful good. And I'm like, Yeah, but you just blew up a village because they didn't like give you free drinks. You know, that's not a lawful good thing to do.
Yeah. And people are just not that cut and dry. Like,
Yeah.
real characters
Nope.
aren't prescribed
That's
to
something-
that chart.
That's something that so going into the lore of like Dungeons and Dragons, the reason alignment exists is because good, evil, lawful, and chaotic are all cosmic forces that have definitions in D&D, and unaligned is an option. But I feel like not enough people, like, there's the 9 grid, and then there's unaligned, where if you just like are not on the side of one of those cosmic forces, you can just go bloop. But I feel like everyone, despite that, will just go like true neutral or chaotic neutral, which doesn't mean, I think, what a lot of people think that it means.
But you can see D&D
Yeah.
almost pulling it out. You could see in 5e where they're like, detect good and evil will tell you if it's undead or infernal,
not
and you're like, okay, well, just make it detect infernal undead. Like, don't.
Yep. I also don't know the last time I saw detect good and evil cast in a game.
Yeah, it's like just have it
Underwhelming.
detect infernal origin rather than evil, because those are two
Yup.
different things. D&D, which they're getting there. They're getting there.
They'll get there eventually. It's very slowly. Wizards has been very slow to learn about getting rid of certain artifacts in Dungeons and Dragons, but they'll get there eventually.
Oh my gosh! Well, thank you, Aaron, for everybody for asking amazing questions, and Aaron for being with us, and of course Parker, as always, for hanging out and painting minis. Do we want to show off what we've done? Do we want to show off our work? Here, I'll start us off. Cac is mostly painted, looking horrific.
Adorable.
Yeah, he's a
Oh,
nightmare
Cac.
creature. Parker's experienced Cac. Parker, what do you got? What do you got?
I'm still working on him,
God, I love
but
that
I was
model.
working on
Wow.
getting red, and then I haven't done all his scaling. So just
Can I
ignore
get
it.
a full
the
shot of the
top
back of the
is-
wings?
Gorgeous.
Oh, I love that.
I haven't finished,
Gorgeous.
but I'm working on it.
Yeah, that's so pretty. I'm not even halfway through base paints yet, so you're doing way better than me.
He looks great, though. Look
He
at it.
does.
Oh,
He'll definitely be something I finish up in my spare time. Wait, I have spare time?
Yeah, right.
surprise.
I'll get him one day. Definitely. Yeah. Thank you for having me. This has been
Yeah.
so wonderful. I've
Thanks for
absolutely
being
enjoyed this
here.
experience. It's been real good.
Well, it's been a delight. And we're going to do a few announcements, and then we're going to remind the audience one more time where they can find you and all the content you're making. Of course, the first of those the announcements we'd like to make, I tried to remember 404 error. We want to thank our
404.
amazing partners like Soundtail, who brings all that ambiance. You guys can get a copy of Soundtail for yourself. Links in chat. Of course, Arcane Anthems, who makes all of our amazing intro songs. You can click on his link to go to his Patreon and get some free music for yourself if you'd like to use that in your D&D games as well. And Parker, what have you got?
I'm here to remind everybody that we're affiliated with Found Familiar Coffee, so you can use the code in there if you'd like to taste Initiative. My favorite is Faced Up. But yeah, if you'd like to stay awake during your D&D games like I do, go get it.
And of course, our most important announcement is to thank our amazing mods who do a ton of work. They keep up with our random announcements that's bound all over the place. They share those links so you guys can go check out all those amazing products, programs, learn more about our characters. They keep this community super, super safe, and we really appreciate them for it.
Your mods are
Thank you.
really the nicest people ever.
They're
Just
so good.
ever. I've made so many friends of your mods. I think they're really awesome.
They're so good.
Great, we're very lucky. And of course, Aaron, one more time, where can the people find you? What are you working on?
I'm gonna do it
Yes.
without looking at the. I'm taking down the note. I'm gonna do it
Proud of
naturally.
you. Do it.
We're doing it live. All right. Hi, I'm Aaron, also known as Obsidianolive. I do a lot of really cool things on the internet, including making homebrew stat blocks and pop culture things. So if you ever want to check out my stuff, you can see me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, or Patreon, such as patreon.com/obsidianolive. I am also available on 3 weekly campaigns, 2 of which I run concurrently. You can find me on Wednesdays at twitch.tv/schooner or later on one of my Dungeons and Demigods campaigns. That one takes place at 4:30 p.m. PST. There is also my Friday campaign, which is over on twitch.tv/the show's Mimic, channel that I started, that I helped start. That one's at noon 30 on Fridays PST. And then there's Saturday. There's the one at 11:30 a.m. PST over on the same channel, twitch.tv/the show's Mimic.
Bravo!
Good
Well
job.
done! Best
That was awesome
plug.
memory. I currently have the page up for the donation link. That's what I currently have up on my other screen.
Ah, thanks,
Heck
bud.
yeah.
Heck yes. Donate. Don't forget. And with that amazing outro, bye, everybody. Stay with us. We're going to
Bye.
rate somebody. Bye.